continue to do what we know best as long as we have not derailed from the rail. And then after this, it is also very important for me to mention that the Islamic social finance, which we can always abbreviate as ISF, is a strategic development financing mechanism. It's strategic development financing mechanism. That is why, again, I want to underscore the importance of this mechanism, that it is beyond just charitable giving. When we say charitable giving, it means sadaqah, just give somebody something to just, no, it's beyond that. That is what this particular course wants to tell us, that we need to integrate it into the national development planning, just like Malaysia have done, like Indonesia has done, like in Singapore has done the same thing. And if you look at Turkey, they have done the same thing. These are international best practices that we also in Nigeria, we need to borrow from the good side of what they have done, domesticate it in Nigeria so that it can work for us. That is why scholars will tell you, you think globally, right? You think globally, then you act locally. So you don't think locally and then you want to act, globally. Is the other way around. Look at global best practices. And then because of the peculiar nature of your own community, country, bring it here, customize it to fit into our own system, and it will work, because Islam is dynamic. Islam is not rigid. Islam is not flexible, but Islam is what? Is dynamic. Anywhere it goes, it knows how to blend and fit into the equation. It will serve the same purpose. So now let us have the understanding of what Islamic social finance as a development financing mechanism is all about. So in today's discussion, we are going to ask a strategic question. How can Islamic social finance become an integral part of national development planning? This is a question for all of us. There is no yes or no answer. But look at the framing of the topic, understanding Islamic social finance. So there is no yes or no answer here. I will give us just like maybe 10 seconds to just reflect over this question. How can Islamic social finance become an integral part of national development planning? Fortunately for us in Nigeria here, we have a minister for budget and national planning. Why can't the instrumentalities of zakat, wakaf, and many others, which I'm going to also display here, be part and parcel of our development planning? Because Allah Ta'ala has not made a mistake, and Allah will never make a mistake. Allah doesn't work by coincidence. Allah doesn't work by chance. Allah works based on conviction, a premeditated plan. Everything that we see that exists, has been planned before it came into being by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when He has given us zakat as a pillar, it is for the benefit of humanity, not just Muslims, humanity. He has given us wakaf, endowment, though endowment may not carry the full meaning, but for the purpose of our understanding, let's use endowments, which is more broader and more wider for sustainability. And there are many other components of Islamic social finance. All these things are given to us deliberately to make our life in this world smooth, to solve our problems. If you look at the geography of the world today, you will discover that the greatest number of the natural resources that is controlling the world today, they are domiciled in areas where Muslims populations are living. Go and look at the geography of the world. All this Iran, America, Israel bombing them is because of political economy. They want to have control of your resources. They want to steal them. They have been stealing it, but they want to continue to steal. All this killing you are seeing is because of natural resources. But we are sitting on these natural resources, but it seems we don't know the value. May Allah make us to understand. Amen. This represents a paradigm shift from viewing zakat and wakaf solely as charitable activities to recognizing them as structured instruments for advancing inclusive development, reducing poverty, and building resilient communities. That is, communities that can withstand challenges. They will not give up. Look at the quantum of millions that SOSIE has been given from the time it was a committee to a commission to an agency. If you ask me this question, and again I will ask you, has poverty reduced in our community? The whole is silence, which means your silence means no. But look at the quantum of millions. Every Ramadan, they spend millions. Every Eid al-Fitr, they spend millions. Every time Eid al-Adha, they spend millions. Has it reduced poverty? So we really need to go beyond seeing zakat and wakaf as just mere charitable giving. They are instrumentalities that you can use to bring about infrastructural development in your community, to create an enabling environment for people to create jobs, to eliminate poverty in your community, such that you may not be as rich as Aliko Dangote, right? Or Abdul Samad Rabiu, but you are not poor as I am. I don't know whether I'm communicating to you. How do you know I'm not poor? I'm a poor man before Allah. Eh? So it is important for us to have this broad understanding of the concept we are trying to look at. So before I go into the depths of this conversation, these are some of the learning objectives. After my delivery here and the training we are going to do here, you should be able to ask yourself, any of these 6 objectives, have you been able to achieve it? If you have been able to achieve it, congratulations to you. If you're also unable to achieve it, then it means, again, you have to do what? Do a revision. To go through, the slides is going to be shared by the organizers, to go through it, because your coming here is to empower you with the required information, knowledge, and skills that will make you better than the way you were before you entered this hall today. Number 1, explain. At the end of the day, you should be able to do what? You should be able to explain the concept of Islamic social finance, ISF. You should be able to describe its relationship with the Maqasid al-Sharia. How do they relate? Number 3, you should be able to explain how Islamic social finance contributes to sustainable development. Number 4, you should also be able to identify sectors where Islamic social finance can support national development. Number 5, you should also be able to assess successful international integration models into our own community. And the last but not the least is that we should also be able to profile, suggest, or recommend policy options for Nigeria and also for West Africa. Yesterday we were with His Eminence explaining to our visitors from outside the country the importance of how Nigeria is strategically positioned within the African continent, telling them that In the olden days, there was no artificial boundaries between Nigeria and Niger. It was the colonial, exploiters that came, partitioned these countries and say, okay, you British, you take Nigeria. You French, you take Niger. So the caliphacy, like we all know, extends beyond Nigeria into West Africa. So that is the reason why our conversation will not be just limited to Nigeria alone, but we are going to touch all West Africa. Now, why Islamic social finance matters today? It is important to stress these points. By first and foremost, let us look at the global challenges that we have around us to serve as a background. In different parts of the countries in the world today, you will discover that each government of each country, they are struggling with almost similar challenges across different countries, across different continents. For example, the case of poverty and inequality. Why did the United Nations sat down and formulated the SDG goals? SDG goal number 1 is what? SDG number 1. No to poverty. No to poverty. So poverty is not peculiar to our country, Nigeria. Different countries have their own poverty challenges and the inequality. The same thing with youth unemployment. Do you know that in Nigeria today, the largest demography of our population in Nigeria, which is over 231 millions or thereabout, the largest demography of this population are youth. Youths are about 60% and above of the population of this country. And then we have youth unemployment. What does that tell us as a nation? Right? The same thing with food insecurity. We also have the challenge of climate-related shocks. In some part of this country, drought has made life unbearable for the people. Some erosion has eaten, a major part of their landmass. Not to talk of many other ones, where some have actually fell down trees. And you know the importance of trees in the ecosystem. So when all this, you put them together, one of the instrumentalities with which we can solve the challenge is the Islamic social finance. Not to talk about the challenge of healthcare costs. Today, many of us cannot afford conventional medications. I was telling some of my medical doctors, I said, when you work in the public hospitals, when people come to you, you diagnose them, then you give them, prescription to go and buy. Do you know how much they are selling those prescriptions you are giving them? I was telling them, I said, look, if somebody has a high blood pressure and you give him a prescription to go and buy medication, if that person belongs to the lower structure of the economy, he cannot afford it. When you go to, this man is so gracious, he's giving me 3 microphones at the same time. Be alone. Somebody say I was not poor. It's a confirmation that I'm not a poor person. Call CEO of the chairman who said they should give me 3 microphones. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So where I'm going is this: the challenge of healthcare, the price of medications today are beyond the reach of a poor or average family. They are very expensive. And then again, the issue of our children or orphans who find it difficult to drop out of school because of the challenge of existentialism. The parents first want to take care of their own life, not to die. So education is secondary. And when you have a very low population of children that are able to access qualitative education, that country cannot, its national development cannot be accelerated. When you have people who are in the majority in your population having challenges to access qualitative education, that country cannot develop, and compete with other countries. So all these challenges with humanitarian crisis are not only peculiar to our own countries, they cut across different countries in the world. But the issue is this: despite all these challenges, global challenges, Islamic social finance is one mechanism that can be deployed to solve these problems or totally eradicate some of them. If you recall, in 2008, when there was a global meltdown, there was a very serious loss in investment globally, all over the world. Do you know that it was only countries and institutions that were actually practicing Islamic finance that did not suffer meltdown? It's there. You can Google it. Just Google it. The meltdown of 2008. It was only countries or institutions that were practicing Islamic finance that were not affected. So that underscores the importance of this topic that we are discussing. Islamic finance. Under it, we are looking at Islamic social finance. Islamic social finance is a subset of Islamic finance. Now, let us now contextualize this to our own country, Nigeria. Nigeria's development context. Some of the challenges we have in Nigeria here. Part of it is multidimensional poverty. Out of a population of over 230 millions, 133 millions, which translates to about 63%, going by the NBS data of 2022. As far as I'm concerned, I've not seen an updated data of this. Shows clearly that in this part of the world, about 30.9% of our populations are in extreme poverty. That's a very serious one. Large infrastructure needs. As we were coming yesterday, our chairman was telling our visitors when they were asking what was the distance between, Abuja to Kano to Sokoto, and he was responding to them that under a normal situation, the journey should not take us between ABC hours. But because of several potholes, this is where I'm going. Infrastructural deficiency. We people have to spend extra. You can imagine, you have a generator, you have a house, and you have, a meter which you are charging to pay. Light does not come. You are going to also buy a generator. Then when you buy a generator, you also buy a fuel. Look at the costs. Man. So by the time you spend your good money in providing all this alternative source of energy, what is left over for you is a meager peanut that cannot make you to live the kind of life you want to live. That is the extent of the challenge of infrastructures. In some countries, it is like a tall dream that light will just go off like that. No. You don't even think of, let me quickly go and iron my clothes. Let me quickly go and do this. The light is constant. Their own challenge is not the challenge that there will be no light. Their challenge is that, how come? They took the light. Before he says anything, the light is back. But in our own case, there is no light is the normal. But when there is light, it is the abnormal. Because people will ask questions, have they not taken the light? Have they not taken the light? That is the way we think. So part of the challenge of infrastructure. The growing youth population, I've mentioned that also, occupies 60%. Then we also have regional, disparities in development. When you look at the 6 political zones of this country, we are not developing on the same scale because huh? What happened? Subhanallah. Huh? Where are the engineers here to come and help us? Window screen? Windows P. Altogether. Okay. Okay, let's just manage this like this. So, and then of course, the demand for inclusive social protection, and then financially included. All these are part of the challenges that we have in our part of the world here, which this particular course we are undergoing will help us to navigate. So I have a question here again. Okay. Thank you. Again, my question is, can Islamic social finance complement public resources in addressing these development challenges? I just need 3 responses. Can Islamic social finance complement public resources in addressing these development challenges that we've mentioned? Poverty, unemployment, challenge of access to qualitative education and healthcare, decayed infrastructures, inequalities, and so on and so forth. Can Islamic social finance complement public resources to address these challenges? I need a response. 3 responses. 1 must come from the women's side, it's compulsory. And then the other 2 can come from the men or they can come from the women. It's a question. Answer is yes or no. The women said yes. The men said yes. Inshallah. Underline it. I said compliments. Islamic social finance is not going to remove other, resources, but it's going to complement, that is going to support and enhance what government collects from you in terms of taxes, and then the development and the exploration of the resources that we have. Islamic social finance can complement them so that it can bring public good to all and sundry in our community. Now, let us ask ourselves, what is Islamic social finance? The definition I'm giving you here is a combined definition. If you look at IOFI, IOFI is a standard setting organization, the accounting and auditing organization for Islamic financial institutions. That is the full meaning of IOFI. If you look at the IOFI 5 new Sharia governance standards, which was issued in December 2024, and then again we have the revised edition of it, that is the governance standard 23, which was issued in January 2026. And then we also look at what the UNDP also said in terms of Islamic social finance. So it is the synthesis of this that I'm presenting here. Islamic social finance refers to Sharia compliant financial instruments designed to promote social justice, reduce poverty, enhance economic inclusion, and improve societal welfare. If you open the Nigerian Constitution of 1996 as amended, you look at the second article, or is it the first or the second article, it will tell you clearly that the primary responsibility of the government is to do what? To provide security And then what? What? Societal welfare. Is there in our constitution. So any government that comes into power, these are the two major primary responsibilities. But ironically, today, what are the challenges our governments are contending with? They are man-made problem. They are not natural. They are man-made problem. We, as human beings, we created the problem of insecurity. Some years ago, when my chairman was kidnapped, many of you may not know, when he was kidnapped by the kidnappers, and he was telling us the story. He said the kidnappers recognized that he was Malam. So they will tell the Malam, come and lead us in prayer. And then he was asking them, if you are asking me to lead in prayer, then why are you kidnapping this? They say it is sana. It is business. That is to tell you it is a man-made created problem. It is not a natural problem. It is artificial. So that is what Islamic social finance is all about. And the ultimate objective of this is to promote human dignity and sustainable development while fulfilling the higher objectives of Sharia, which is the maqasid of Sharia. In doing this, there are core principles that must be upheld at all times. Number one is adlu, justice. Two is rahma, compassion. Three is takaful, which is solidarity. And then number four is the maslaha, the public interest, things that will bring something that will enhance our living conditions for the community. Then number five is amana. It is a trust. Then the last but not the least is khilafa, stewardship. Look at how beautiful Islam is. In the conventional finance, there is no khilafa. There is betrayal of trusts. Yesterday, we were watching the news, and they showed a former governor of the CBN. Then they now showed vast expanse of estates. Vast expanse of estates, which as a sitting governor of the central bank, not even a governor of a state, not even a president of Nigeria, you ask, what will you do with all these estates? About over 700 estates. What will you do with it? It's because there's no what? There's no amana. So these are what are guiding Islamic social finance. But unfortunately, I must also tell us, as good as it is, as a practitioner in this field, we all need to come together to salvage Islamic social finance and Islamic, commercial finance in Nigeria. Because the direction it is going, it is scary. It is dangerous. Some people do not have business to do in Islamic finance. They have penetrated Islamic finance, and they have already started destabilizing it from inside. That all these things we mentioned, adlu, justice, rahma, takaful, maslaha, amana, they are gradually fading away. I'm telling you, my eyes have seen, my ears have heard stories that cannot be related or written in black and white. Now, let us look at the component of Islamic social finance. I'm building upon what Professor Irfan gave us in the morning. These are 10 components of Islamic social finance that we can deploy, or we can also integrate into our national development plans. Number one is zakat. 2 is waqfu. 3 is sadaqah. 4 is qardun hasan. 5 is kafara. 6 is fidya. 7 is nazar. 8 is Islamic microfinance. Under Islamic microfinance, we can also slash it with Islamic cooperative societies. Then number 9 is the social sukuk, which he mentioned in the morning, waqfu sukuk. And then the 10 is takaful, which in Nigeria here, fortunately, we have takaful operators. That is, Nigerian countries, companies that are operating takaful products that are Sharia compliant. Now, let us look at how the Islamic social finance, how it aligns with the SDGs. I mentioned earlier that number one SDG is what? No poverty. Look at how it aligns with the Islamic social finance instrument of zakat and wakaf. We can use zakat to also eliminate or reduce to its barest minimum the challenge of poverty. We can also use the same tool of wakfu to also bring about eradication of poverty, or we reduce it to a very minimum level. In the hierarchy of the maqasid of human beings, we have the adororiya, we have the hajiya, and then we have the tahsiniya. The daruriya are the essentials. They are the essentials, those that you cannot live as a human being if you don't have those basics. Then the hajiya are your needs. As human beings, we have needs. At the same time, we also have wants. There's a difference between a need and a want, right? The needs are the one that, again, will take you a little bit higher above the daruriya. But for some, like the Aliko Dangotes, the Abdusamad Rabius and their likes, they are in the category of the tahsiniya. Luxuries. That is when you live a luxurious life. You don't lack anything. In fact, a time will come when all the things that poor people see as, let me have this, they become irritating to you as a human being when you have money. Give a poor man money now. If you go and eat, open the tap of money and let the money pour as if rain is falling on him. He will not eat from morning till night. Give him food, you say, Wallahi, I'm okay. Why? Because the rain of money that fell on him has taken away the hunger. It's natural. That is the same way rich men feel. When the rich men, because they have the money, so they don't eat the way the poor man eats. They just take small cup of water, just maybe one biscuit, two biscuits, they are okay. So if you look at SDG number 2, which says zero hunger, it also aligns with zakat and wakfu. Look at SDG number 3 that talks about good health. It aligns with wakfu and sadaqah. SDG number 4, which talks about quality education, aligns with wakfu and zakat. SDG number 5, which talks about gender equality, it aligns with what? Zakat, wakfu, and qard and hasan. Most of our Islamic banks, where I stand to be corrected, have not yet seen how they are deploying qard and hasan to support businessmen that have challenges. Number 6, SDG talks about clean water. Wakfu aligns with this. SDG number 8 talks about decent work. If you look at Qard and Hasan, Islamic microfinance can also be deployed to actualize this. SDG number 10 talks about reduce inequalities. We can also use zakat and sadaqah. That is what Allah says in Surah Al-Hashr. I think verse 7, if I'm not mistaken, or 8. If you also look at SDG number 11, that talks about sustainable cities, we can also deploy wakfu and social sukuk to provide this. And then, of course, SDG number 17, that talks about partnerships, solidarity, networking, synergy. All the instrumentalities of Islamic social finance can be used to actualize this. Now, let us look at Nigeria's development priorities and the role of Islamic social finance. The key sectors we should be looking at, basically, education, healthcare, agriculture, social protection, youth employment, women's economic empowerment, housing, water and sanitation, skills acquisition, disaster response. These are all areas where, Islamic social finance can key into our national development initiatives. And the integration opportunity is that Islamic social finance can complement national development initiatives through targeted, transparent, and community-driven initiatives. When the community people are deeply involved in it, they will own it. Let me share one experience with you in my years of working. We went to a community that lacked access to portable and clean water they can drink, they can use for their livelihood. If their children or their mothers have to fetch water, it takes them almost like about 5 to 6 hours of trekking to go and fetch water. And when they are coming back again, it will take them like about 5 to 6 hours to come back. Add, how many hours is that? Now, this community, they need support. True of us. If you provide potable water, will it enhance their livelihood? Will it enhance their status? Yes. One of the mistakes we did in the early years of our work, because at that time we have not gathered international experiences, was that we entered the community and we were very happy and passionate that let's provide them with water. So we did a borehole water for them, and the community celebrated. It was joy that knows no bound. After 1 month, 2 months, the community deliberately on their own, particularly the community leaders, now instigated some of the youth to go and spoil the pumping machine. Children are innocent. Children, they are innocent. Just give them a job to do and give them something to back it up. They go and do it. They don't know the implication. 2 months after the pumping machine, they destroy it. Back to basis, back to where they were before. So through our EMN, evaluation, monitoring and evaluation process, we now discovered that the support had actually stopped. So we had to do a focus group interview for some of the community leaders to know what happened, how. What I'm going to tell you will make some of you to laugh. If you want to laugh, just laugh moderately. The greatest findings we discovered was that we solved one problem, we created another natural problem for the community. Body no be wood. Oh. Say you understand. Body no be wood. I say the hours the children go and fetch water. Children, when they go to fetch water, they will play. They will play before they come. The hours they go to fetch water, then they will play, and then the hours they are taken back, the Baba and the Mama have already entered the room. They have satisfied themselves. But when the water was available, there was no room for Baba and Mama again to enjoy themselves. Because the children were not going anywhere. They tried to see how they can manage 1 month of endurance. Second month, they said, but we cannot sustain this. So that was how they damaged the water. Because it is when the children go out that the wife and the husband, they mate. Because the way their houses were built, there was no privacy. So when we saw that, we saw the need to carry out need assessments. When communities have challenges, we have to carry out need assessments to be able to look beyond the challenge they are presented, because you have to look at it from 360 degrees so that intervention can be sustainable. So we now had to repair the pumping machine, and then we now again supported them with decent accommodation that created privacy for the Baba and the Mama, even if the children are around. That was how we were able to solve their problem. So these are things that your zakat, your waqfu, and other components of the Islamic social finance can also do at a national scale. Now, why integration matters? Let's look at the benefits. It mobilizes additional domestic resources. It reduces pressure on public finances. You see, government borrowing, government borrowing, government borrowing. When we unlock the potentials of these instrumentalities, it will reduce what government wants to borrow. It strengthens community ownership because the people in the community, they will own it because it is serving them good. It improves targeting of vulnerable populations. It encourages partnerships. It supports inclusive growth and then enhances resilience during crisis when people have challenges. You know, these are the instruments you can use to make life comfortable. Look at COVID-19. When they said no movement around, who are the greatest people that will suffer most? Farmers, for example, they can't go to the farm. But when we look at the instrumentalities of Islamic finance, right? You can use Islamic social finance. You can use salam contracts to support the farmers before they plant, before they harvest, give them the money in advance and encourage them to go and do the farming. So they have the money which they can use to sustain themselves and their families. It's part of what Islamic social finance can do to complement government efforts. And then the strategic message here is this: development is more sustainable when governments, communities, and faith-based institutions, they work together. This is what we call partnership. Now, let us look at this diagram here. It's talking about the paradigm shift from charity to sustainable development. The transformation pathway that we as operators in the Islamic social finance sectors needs to adopt is to move from the charitable giving level to sustainable national development. There are about 5 steps before we can reach that. The lowest one is the charitable, giving. Then again, we now move to organize Islamic social finance. Organize. Number 3 is to now, again, this is what we are doing here, institutional capacity. Each of the Islamic social finance institutions needs to build the capacity of their people. Give them the required skills. Provide them with the resources that will make them to be able to manage those Islamic social finance resources. Then the 4th one is development programs. You need to come up with programs that will impact positively in the life of people. Just like somebody mentioned in the morning, you are giving people zakat, give this one 500 naira, give this one 1,000 naira, especially for people who are living in the villages. They will say they don't need big money. Just give them those small money. And those small money you give them, they will use it to buy food and then they will consume. They are back to the stage where they were before. But that is not what zakat wants to do. Zakat is meant to take you away from the level of you begging to a level where you become kashi. You are not yet, a muzaki, but you are self-sufficient. Again, when we are supported further, you can then move into the class of those who give out zakat, but not to make you a perpetual beneficiaries of zakat, except if that person has a challenge of physical disability that cannot make him or her to be able to work. Then that person can be under permanent means of sustenance. Otherwise, zakat is meant to take you out of that stage. That is why the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, Agunuhum, empower them, give them something that will make them to be able to go and work. And that is exactly the case of that woman I told you in the morning. She was not giving zakat. She was just giving what we call, tabaru, just a donation. And then she wisely used it for her business. And today, then she was able to even make a contribution. And that is what we are looking forward to. so that people who have benefited from us through our monitoring and evaluation, we want to keep track with them so that we can make them also to become givers. But in some quarters, some people deliberately, they want to remain permanently a beneficiary. Even if you don't give them, they ask, Malang, have we offended you? Up to now, we have not seen anything. They will ask, this is what they ask us. They are waiting. If they don't hear anything, they will text you. If you don't reply, they will pass through your house. If they see you, they will greet you. If you don't say anything, one day, they will just ambush you and ask, Naima Levine, Malang, have I offended you? I discovered that up to now, you have not sent us the usual zakat. That is not what zakat is meant for. And then the next one is economic empowerment. And then we now come to the stage of sustainable communities. And finally, is the national level, which is what this particular course is trying to tell us. Now, let us move. So this is a framework on Islamic social finance as a development financing mechanism and ecosystem. So we are moving beyond charity to a development financing level. And in doing this, from the Islamic social finance instrumentalities, resources are mobilized. And then when they are mobilized, we put them in strategic investments, right? And then when that is done, those who are going to deploy them, you need to also build their capacity. And this is one of the things we are doing here today. They are building our capacity. And then followed by economic empowerment. If somebody does not have financial literacy, with all my years of experience, I always challenge people that come, they say they need zakat. By the time we size you up, we profile you, we discover, how much have you even been able to even see in your life in a whole sum. I can tell you that if you give this person this amount of money, give him or her 3 months, the person will be worse off. It will be worse than before you gave him the money. Except if the person has been given proper training, or the person by default has financial discipline and the person is focused. Ordinarily, a lot of people that we give support to, they kept coming back, texting you, calling you, sending somebody to you here and there, as if they are the only people that need support. So it is very important. Then from that level, we now move to the level of national development, where we want to bring something to the table at the national level so that they can respect the Muslim community. Because it is when you are contributing to the national development that the government can take you serious. At the level of Nigeria Inter-Religious Council, NIREC, fortunately, from 2018 to date, I'm still the co-chairman of NIREC Lagos State. What we see is that anytime government is facilitating a meeting, most of these, our teachers and our ulamas, without disparaging them, but we have been sensitizing them, talking to them. Whatever it is in their mind, it is what government is going to give them after the meeting thereafter. That is what is in their mind. They say, Imam Shuaib, you and your people, you'll be doing the talking. They will we agree with you. At the end of the meeting, it is what they are able to collect when they are going that matters to them. And then government has understood their psychology. But the non-Muslims, their leaders, when they want to enter, they don't enter through the normal door that all of us will enter. They create a special door for them to enter. And when they are going, you don't see any of their leaders. They just leave. They will carry whatever they are giving them. They will send emissary to go and deliver to them. Why? It's because of the way we package ourselves. We need to change because we have what can make government to be begging us. These instrumentalities we have is enough for government to come to you and say, please come and support these our initiatives, not the other way around. Now, let's have a reflection question here. If Islamic social finance were fully integrated into Nigeria's development planning, which sector would benefit the most? and what institutional reforms will be necessary to make that integration successful. I want us to just put pen to paper, write your answer by yourself. Write your answer by yourself. If there is time for us, we'll come back to it. We have mentioned those key sectors. For your own organization that you represent, identify which sector would benefit the most and what institutional reforms, will be necessary to make that integration successful. So this is the first module, or the first section of this module, right? Because of time, I will just skip some things so that since you are going to have the slide with you. This is the second section. This section has just four. This particular module has 4 sections. The second section here is talking about national development opportunities. So we are moving from the concept perspective now to application. We want to apply. We want to apply those Islamic social finance instrumentalities that we've just mentioned. So what we need to do here basically is to look at each of the opportunities one after the other and then see how they resonate with the integration with the national development. So under this, we shall be looking at where Islamic social finance delivers impact and the poverty reduction, education, healthcare, agriculture, micro, small, medium enterprises, youth unemployment, women's empowerment, housing, humanitarian response, and financial inclusion. So here, at the end of the day, we will also want you as participants to look at maybe 2 or 3 areas that are most actionable in your own particular organizations where you are, and then try to do a reflection in terms of your responses to the question being asked. Number 1, the opportunities. Opportunity number 1 is talking about poverty reduction and social cohesion. Why does this matter? Poverty remains one of the greatest barriers to sustainable development. This is a global issue. Anywhere the poverty index is very, very high, it's going to affect sustainable development. Number 2 is Islamic social finance opportunities. If we look at zakat-funded cash transfers for eligible beneficiaries, they can go a long way. When COVID-19 actually disrupts the normal system of life, countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, they activated their number 6 and they use technology to support the poor people who have been locked down. No thanks to COVID-19. When you lock people, you say, don't move, you lock them down. It's like you tie a goat down. You don't give the goat food. You don't give the goats water. That goats, sooner or later will die. When the goat dies, you will lose, and your own life also may be affected. The technology solved the challenge of the people at that time. They were doing transfer to people. So in their immediate neighborhood, already you have money. And with that money transferred onto you, you are able to access food. In some other areas, they were not even giving money. They brought machines that dispenses grains to the poor people. Just go, they will give you the code, go to the machine, punch the code there, the machine will now dispense the number of kilograms of the grain that you need. Courtesy of technology. These are ways through which we can be able to do what? Reduce poverty. Food security programs. During the regime of our late president, Malam Muhammad Buhari, they try to replicate the pyramid, the granite pyramid. They try to replicate it with not granite pyramid this time, but rice pyramid. But it was not sustainable. It was a one-off, even though the intention was good, but it was not sustainable. Right? So the challenge of food security, government comes, and I can take time to go from the time of Obasanjo, different policies on food security. He discovered that one government will come, will bring his own, again, his thing will die natural death, another one will come, will die natural death. We have been having it like that. So people will just change the name of the policy, give it another name here and there, but after some time, the thing again will go down, natural death. So we need, that is why Islamic social finance can complement this initiative and this thing, because of the core principle we mentioned earlier. People will do it, they will not betray the amana, because they know a day will come when they will stand before Allah, they will give account of their stewardship. That instills consciousness of no eye service. They are doing it liwajhillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala, seeking the countenance of Allah. And of course, the same thing with the issue of healthcare, emergency risks, and so on and so forth. Then what are the long-term goals? To move beneficiaries from dependency to self-reliance through empowerment-oriented programs. Some of with my experience with Manya Mutani, the most, blessed people, they want to disburse their zakats on their own. They don't want to give it to Sozie, to Lagos Zakat and whatever. They want to do it on their own. And that is not what the principle of zakat collection and disbursement is all about. That is why Allah made it a pillar of Islam. Rukunun min arkanil Islam. And look at all the arkanil Islam, it emphasizes Jama'ah, not one individual. So a rich man is not expected, except if in the area where he lives, there is no any organized zakat body to collect and disburse, then it becomes fardun ayn on him to disburse. But if there are zakat bodies in the country where he is, it is not encouraged for him to be the one to disburse on his own. It may be money coming from you, but you are not the owner of the money, because that money belongs to Allah and the fuqara wal masaki and the other asnaful zakat. So, and that is what can make people not to be subservient to the zakat payer. When an individual gives out zakat to him, say, what now is my zakat for this year, Gashinawaka? That man that collected the zakat from him will become subservient to the man. Anytime he sees him, he will do like this. Yeah. You do like this for him. You do like this for him. Even the man make mistake, he will not correct him, because he is afraid that if I should correct him, the man may blacklist me from his list. So we just keep quiet. And when that happens, Shaitan has a way of of telling him inside him, and then the level of arrogance and pomposity and the whatever start coming in him, and that can destroy his amal salih. They give it to zakat body. They can question the person who wants to collect zakat, ask him several questions, and he will never be offended. But you, the person who wants to give zakat, if you ask him one question, then is it because you want to give me zakat, you are now asking me for the That's why Allah says, let us have an organization where they are charged with zakat collection. And that is why Allah mentioned that these people, they are among the people that can also take from zakat. Al-amilina alayha. I don't know whether there's any profession in the world where Allah specifically, in the case, just the way he did for people working in zakat, mentioned that they are also part of the beneficiaries of zakat. Even if the person is rich, it is his right. Give him, because Allah says you give him. It is not left for him to now say, okay, I return my own back again to support people. But it is his right to collect it because Allah mentioned it in the Quran. Right? Number two, opportunity number two is education and human capital development. Education as a wonderful legacy. You remember that popular hadith, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنَ آدَمَ انْقَطَعَ عَنْهُ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثَةٍ. When the Son of Man passes away from this dunya, he is disconnected from the dunya, except in three regards. Right? Sadaqatun jariyah, aw ilmin yuntafahu bi. This is where we are going. Knowledge, education as a legacy. And the best legacy you can give is to give somebody proper education. It will make that person to be independent. If he or she is not lazy and just sits idle doing nothing, the knowledge you have is amana. So historically, if you look at universities all over the world, particularly in Muslim countries, the first, second generation of universities, were developed and established by Waqf. The likes of Al-Azhar, the like of Al-Qarawiyin in Fez in Morocco, myself, the chairman, and some other members were fortunate. Was it last year or this year? That we visited the place. It was established by a woman, and that university is still standing to date. That is one of the unexplained phenomena of Waqf, if it is properly managed. Look at the year it was established, long before Al-Azhar was established, and it is still functioning till today. So we can also use it for libraries, particularly e-libraries today, because most of us, we are carrying e-library with us. Your cell phone is your e-library. And then schools, scholarships, research, and student accommodations, and what have you. What will be the development outcome? A more educated population will contribute productively. I've mentioned this earlier. When you have a high level of a population that are educated, that community will develop. Let me give you a practical example. Not even talking about the ideology now. Look at Iran, for example. It's one of the countries that has the highest level of, women that have access to education. They are developing because of education, particularly in the area of science. And this is what we can also use our workforce to do, to build. Some of the children that Azawan is facilitating for today, they are beneficiaries of workforce scholarship. So they will school with workful money. When they finish again, some of them again will be engaged with workful money. After that, some of them again will get married with workful money. They will give back to children with workful money. They will raise their children with workful money. And their first, second generation may continue to benefit from workful as a means of complementing the efforts of governments. And the modern opportunities we have in this space is digital learning centers, the STEM education, which some of our people have now started establishing. Then we also have vocational training, teacher development, special education, research endowment, scholarship for disadvantaged students, among others. Opportunity number 3 is healthcare. The current challenges actually facing us is unequal access. So many people today are dying silently without the world knowing. In one of the years of my experience in South, particularly in Bayelsa, this community of people we want to give zakat to, they have to use boats from the creek. The creek is you will cross ocean to enter another island. From that island again, you now enter inside. So it's not a place where you can access anyhow. So, and there's only one canoe boat that goes, it goes, if you go, for example, like today, Sunday, the canoe will not come back until the following Sunday because of poverty. The people cannot afford to buy fuel. The people who are doing the business cannot afford to buy fuel. So you that is using the canoe, if you want to go back, whatever you are doing in Yenogua, in the town, do it within 1 hour so that you can join that canoe to go back. If you miss that 1 hour, you will live the life of Ibn Sabil in Yenogua till the following week when the canoe will come back. So when we were now discussing with some of them, they said even some people cannot even come because they don't have the money to pay. As at that time, it was 1,500 naira to pay to come to Yenogua. And then if you are going back again, you pay 1,500 naira. So making 3,000 naira, that they don't have the money. They even said somebody was even sick, that he doesn't have the money to buy antibiotics of 2,000 naira. That the person, they lost the person. That is to tell you the level of poverty and pain. There are so many people silently who are dying that are not even announced. So all these things can be corrected through work food. So the expected impact is that healthier population will support stronger economic and social development. When people have access to education and they are healthy, they can contribute towards the development of our economy. And then the Islamic social finance opportunities that we have here is that workful funded clinics and hospitals will be so much prevalent, unlike in other countries where there are so many of them. Go to, for example, Turkey. There are several, workful hospitals that have been established more than 100 years, and they are still existing till today. Not one, not two, not three that are existing. And the same thing applies to other countries. Right. So mobile healthcare services can also, be organized on a regular basis to go, into the interiors so that those people cannot come to the city because they don't have the resources, can access qualitative education. Medical equipment endowment can also be provided. Somebody that has kidney problem, for example, he or she will need dialysis. So just do one dialysis. The person may need to do dialysis 3 times in a week. One dialysis averagely may be over 50,000 naira. Tell me, where can a poor person be able to afford that? They can't. That's why I said so many people are dying silently without being recorded, without being noticed. Because they are poor and they don't have access to all these things. So maternal health programs also can be supported through workful funded resources. Subsidized medicine can be given. Healthcare support for vulnerable households can also be provided. The vulnerable people, especially, families that have children with Down syndrome, they are vulnerables. Or those who are people with disabilities, they are vulnerable people. All these people, we take them for granted. So when I came to this hospital, the first thing I did was to do this hotel was to do a survey, and I saw some element of compliance for vulnerable people. You can see that they had tram, which they did. In some places, nobody even thinks about them. So if you bring somebody who is vulnerable here, and you just walk and just go, he has a problem of how do I even access the building? Even when the person enters the convenience, how will she or he access, the system? I attended a training in Abuja, UNICEF training for people with disability. So one of the consultants they brought to do situational analysis was giving us an experience. She said she went for a training in one part of this country, and then she wanted to use the convenience. A mature woman. You can't expect her to take somebody along with her to enter there, and then the person will now be the one to help to claim. She said the first thing she did was when she entered there, the WC was not the type that was made for people with disability. So she said she had no choice. When she was given the experience, it was now sitting. You know, she has to, whether she like it or not, she has to put her hand on the floor to ensure that she at least, throw out whatever she wants to throw out. And then again, clean herself up and then walk out. It is only she alone that knows what went through inside that toilet. Why? Because the building was not constructed to accommodate vulnerable people. And some of us also were guilty of it, not deliberately, because they say out of sight is out of mind. When you are not dealing with them on a regular basis, when you are doing a program, you don't factor them into your equation. But it's part of what Workful can also do. And then training for the health professionals. The other one is opportunity number 4, agriculture and food security. I've said so much on this. And then number 5 is the micro, small, and medium enterprises, entrepreneurship and financial inclusion. Yes. So the MSME enterprises are major employers, but they often face financing constraints. There are data available that confirms that those who create wealth in our economy, not only in Nigeria, globally, more than 60% of the wealth being created comes from the micro, small, medium enterprise. When they have challenges of financing and they want to access finance, they go to any bank, be it the non-interest bank or the conventional one. They usually face a lot of encumbrances in terms of bring this, bring that. At the end of the day, the person is frustrated and the person just walks away. Part of what Islamic social finance can also do is to support these people in this area. That is why Islamic social finance solutions can be deployed in the area of Qard and Hassan financing, Islamic microfinancing, cash workful investment funds, where legally and operationally appropriate can also be deployed. Business incubation can be set up, and their skills development also can be deployed to enhance their capacity and their capability. And financial literacy can also be carried out for them before you now deploy the resources. Give the person financial literacy skill. In if I'm not mistaken, whether it was during the regime of Sardauna of Kano, His Excellency the former governor of Kano, Ibrahim Shekarau. I invited him to Lagos for zakat distribution. As a sitting governor at that time, he breached protocol. He was supposed to communicate to Fashola, who was the governor then. He didn't communicate because he saw it as a private, engagement. But when Fashola got to know, he was embarrassed. He had to send emissary to make sure they do protocol for him. But Shekarau was not even bothered about all those ones. But where I'm going is this. At that program, Shekarau sat with us from morning till afternoon when we ended the program. Unlike any governor, we come to your program, spend 5-10 minutes, salam alaikum, they go. Shekarau was there. He came from Kano. At the program in the morning, he was with us until we ended everything before he left. He now said something. This is where I'm going on financial literacy. He said there was this Netijo, this old man in Kano, when they were disbursing zakat. So when it got to the turn of the man, they now gave the man 5,000 naira. The man collected the 5,000 naira. His hand was shaking until the man collapsed and then fainted. He almost disrupted the program. They have to suspend everything they were doing. There were paramedics around. So they revived the man. They were not asking him, have you not eaten since morning? Or is it hunger? The man said, no, it was not hunger. He has eaten. Then what happened? He said, throughout his life, till the time they gave him the 5,000 naira in cash, he said he has never in his life hold on to 5,000 naira at a once like this 5,000 in bulk. He has never. This is the first time in his life. Some people laugh, but it was a very strong message. It's a very strong message. What you take for granted. Some of us can burn airtime, 5,000. It's not even enough. Some will burn 10,000 airtime. Just less than 1 hour, it's already gone. The man said he has never held onto 5,000 naira in bulk in his life. You can imagine that. So that kind of a man, do you think he will just squander the 5,000 naira anyhow? No. The man will put that money into judicious use so that it will not diminish. Because most of the people we give, zakat to, when they come, they collect, some collect millions, some collect 500,000, some collect even equipment worth over millions, and they will go and sell it at a lesser price. Then they now divert it to something else. Some will go and marry additional woman and be